process of how the modification of the gut of the insects is in the insect. So the caterpillar, the midgut, hindgut crop region is how varied, and in the butterfly, how the crop and midgut regions are varying, and in the dragonfly is also a different form. The same will be the thing, but the modifications we see in a different manner in the different insects placed in a different way. So on the whole, when we see, it's an foregut region and midgut region and hindgut region, but the design of this particular process is different in the larval stage. In the termite is also, it's different because the termites are able to digest even the wood also. As in feed, they'll take wood. So this way we will say that there are lots of modification we see in the gut region. So actually, what is the gut functions? Obtaining the food is different in different insects. Mechanically breaks food down into smaller particles that facilitate the activity of the digestive enzymes. Are you listening? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So mechanically breaks down into smaller particles and they facilitate the activity of digestive enzymes. And enzymatic breakdown of larger food molecules into smaller ones that enter the hemolymph produce molecules that coordinate feeding and other digestive activities. So these are the modes of very important functions done by the gut region. And when we see the salivary glands, this is the salivary glands diagram, where these types of salivary glands are acinus, that is alveolar, and they will be of tubular in some, not directly innervated. And we see the variations in the salivary glands. So the acinus type are multicellular with sac-like units directly inverted from the innervated from the CNS, central nervous system. Tubular are not directly innervated. The serotonin from hemolymph is released to regulate the enzymatic production. So there are varying in different types of insects. And when we coming to the functions of the salivary glands is to moisten the food, lubricate the mouth parts, contains digestive enzymes, amylase, complex sugars to simple sugars and salivary enzymes for pre-oral digestion. Non-digestive functions, the production of toxins of predators that affect the central nervous system of prey, counter the toxins of plant allelochemicals, anticoagulants, and the silk production. So even the salivary glands play an important role in even in the silk production also. This is the main organ in the silk production for the silkworm to create the required material to form the cocoon and form a silk thread. So we discussed like that about the salivary glands. And coming to the foregut, in the foregut, mouth and oral cavity is for the consumption of the food. And next comes the ventral glandular salivarium. And next comes the dorsal muscular cibarium. And when we come to what is the process done here is mechanical processing of food in the pharynx and proventriculus. That is a gizzard part. And Then again, after mixing up all the things, like with the saliva, with the food, it is stored in the crop. Then the Midgard region. In the Midgard region, most of the digestion of the food occurs here. Two main areas will be playing an important role, that are gastric caeca, often house the endosymbionts, ventriculus, where most of the digestion occurs. Then the hindgut. This is a region of water conservation and excretion, intimately involved in the osmoregulation and elimination of waste. And these insects have open circulatory system, therefore no kidney or nephridia. And in the aquatic insects also have the chloride cells to actively pump the ions. So here only in the hindgut region, we also see the Malpighian tubules, where they are whitish in color and finger-like processes. And outgrowth of the hindgut is of ectodermal origin. And the dead ends of whatever we are seeing, like finger-like structures, open into the hemolymph. And the transport epithelium secretes the nitrogenous waste and solutes into the tubules, the filtrate. So these are delivered to the hindgut region. And in the hindgut region, we see that most of the parts of the rectal epithelium are thickened to form the rectal pads. Even if we take the example of cockroach or any insect which is living in the desert, how they are able to survive without water means little water content, whatever is in the food, will be again reabsorbed in the rectum part. So due to this variation or the modification what we see in the rectum region, they are able to survive and also they are able to, without any drinking, they are able to survive. Whatever the food they are taking as a feed, the moisture content is present. From that only, they again reabsorb that water and they are able to live. So parts of rectal epithelium are thickened to form a rectal pads. These are specialized for absorption of water from feces before defecation. Active transport of ions across these cells sets up osmotic gradient. Water is reabsorbed. And coming to the Malpighian tubule structure, here we are able to see the Malpighian tubules as in long processes and how the movement of water, inorganic ions, sugars, and amino acids is taking place, and the excretory function is done by them, and they are totally attached to the hindgut region of the digestive system. And coming to the functions of the fat body, metabolism of carbohydrates, lipids, and nitrogenous compounds, storage of glycogen, fat, and protein, regulation of blood sugar, synthesis of major hemolymph, that is blood, proteins, hemoglobins, vitellogenins, and storage of the proteins. These are the main functions of the fat body in the hemolymph. So when we see the diet also, we come across the termites. which will be living in a rotten wood. So these are the termites. Have you seen them in the old trees like that? They live on that particular diet only of.
Yes, ma'am.
So wood regularly consumed by some wood-boring beetles, termites, wood-feeding roaches, and silverfish. Silverfish is a small insect we see in the books, and it is able to consume like this an unusual diets. So in the insects, we see unusual diets like vertebrates. These are also having a very functional feeding habits. So some endogenous production of cellulases, most endosymbiotic interaction with the bacteria or the fungi also helps them to survive. Some exogenous composition, some exogenous consumption of fungi to obtain the celluloses also, and some only consume rare starch, sugar, or whole cell walls in wood tissue. No lignin itself is found in the insects. When we see the unusual diets, we come across the bee wax. Bee wax, which is brought by this particular honeybees, it is resistant to digestion. But wax moths cannot eat it. And when we see of the clothes moths are also known to scavenge horn, hooves, and even tortoise shells. And when we come to the moths and beetles, they even can feed on keratin. So these are unusual feeding habits of the insects. And so here comes the total description of the digestive system of the insect. Here I am seeing in your book. In your book also the same way it is given, this diagram, page number 79. Do you have in front?
Yes, ma'am.
So you say that these are the three parts: foregut, midgut, hindgut, foregut region. You can go through that and write some more points which are related to this particular one which I gave. And here also modifications of the gut like caterpillar, orthoptera, diptera, cyanoptera, hemiptera. All these are given in the same way. And so the gizzard part is, we call it as an teeth-like structures in the gizzard will help in mastication of the food. And Midgard performs the function of digestion and absorption in the midgard cell. So here also the same way it is given, but the excretory function is also done by the malpighian tubules. So there are I think all of you are clear with the digestive system. Then we will go on to the next system. Shall we start the excretory system? Is it clear for you? The insect digestive system. First, we discuss about the parts, modifications, functions of the gut, types of salivary glands, which are with the unique way of function. Functions of the fat body, and we come to the unusual insects of the unusual diets. In this, we can discuss more about the.
Ma'am, regurgitation means what, ma'am? In the reader it has given. Regurgitation. Regurgitation of Midgard juices.
Regurgitation, okay. Regurgitation means how the animal like cow and all that, how they will, once they get the food, they'll engulf and keep it in the crop. Again, they'll bring back that food and masticate. So that is called as regurgitation.
Insects also do the same, ma'am?
Some insects, variable.
Okay.
Varies from one insect to another insect. I will send this PDF. You go through this PDF and again some points you underline in your book also. Add them and write the notes so that it will be helpful for you to write at least for the 10 marks answer.
Okay, ma'am.
Where is the respiration? Okay. Page number 92. Two-minute break I'm giving. 2 minutes. I'll keep that PDF. Respiratory system PDF.
Okay, ma'am.
So next system is the respiratory system, page number 92 in your book. Okay. So usually we come across the tracheal system we discuss in the insects. This tracheal system, how it will be with the openings of the spiracles. They'll have a spherical openings on the abdomen region and the thoracic region. So you can see it has shown in your diagram of page number 93 how the spiracles will be abdominal spiracles, thoracic spiracles. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So that is the one. And first we come across like the variations in the respirations process in the insects. Actually, when we talk about the definition, we say that respiration is a process of interchange of gases between environment and the blood or cellular tissues of organisms. So the respiratory system is ectodermal in origin. And coming to the types of respiratory system, there will be variation in the spiracles. So classified respiratory system of insects on the basis of number of and distribution of the functional spiracles. So these are of holopneustic, when they have 2 in the thoracic region and 8 in the abdominal region. So openings, whatever these openings are seen, if they are 8 in the abdominal region and 2 in the thoracic region, we'll call it as an holopneustic. If they have 1 or 2 non-functional ones in the larvae, then we'll call it as them as hemipneustic, or otherwise 1 in the thorax region and 8 in the abdomen, peripneustic, that is caterpillar. Amphipneustic, that is 2 functional, 1 anterior and 1 posterior in the abdomen. Propneustic, that is 1 in the functional prothoracic region, that is pupas. Any pupa stage will find only 1 opening. Metapneustic, where 1 functional in the last abdominal region. Wrigglers, means they live in the surface of the waters. Hymopneustic, 1 functional, 6 abdominal, head louse. Apneustic, all spiracles are closed in the aquatic region for insects. Hyperneustic, presence of more than the normal cell. Japigidae is the order. No, it is an insect name, Japigidae. And in Columbola, 1 pair of spiracles present between the head and the thorax region. So according to the distribution and functional way, these spiracles are distributed in the insects, and according to them we have given the names. And when we see the components of respiratory system, they have a spiracle that is opening to the outside, trachea, tracheoles, tracheoblast, and air sacs. So what is a spiracle when we want to write? It is the external opening through which air enters into the trachea. Insects have about 10 pairs of openings called spiracles in their exoskeletons, and it has a chamber or atrium with the opening and closing mechanism called atrial valve. So this atrial valves also, I will show the picture, how they are located in the, located to the spiracle. And this chamber, that whatever the spiracle we are seeing, it is surrounded by a sclerite called peritreme. And closing and opening of a spiracle is regulated by atrial valve. And the dipterans, coleopterans, and lepidopterans and spiracle consist of sieve plate. Sieve plate. To sieve means, you know, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Filter. Sieve means filter it. Whatever then air enters into that spiracles, it will be sieved. Peristigmatic glands present around the spiracle that prevents the wetting of organs. So when we see the types of spiracles, they are different in the opening. So like this, we see the differences. Spiracles, integument, and atrial lips and atrium. So there are simple or non-atriate, an opening with no lip closure or filter chamber. Atriate with the lip closure, slit-like apparatus with two movable valves. Atriate with filter apparatus means it have a small heads and it can able to filtrate with that particular apparatus. And coming to the trachea. So trachea are these. This long tube is called as a trachea. See how they are made up of, like they have the epithelial lining of intima. External opening, body wall. Now when we see the tracheal tubes, we see that body wall, to the body wall, these tubes are attached, and through the spiracle, whatever the air enters into these tracheoles,
Ma'am, what is the function of intima, ma'am?
which one? Which one? Trachea. Tracheoles. Which one you are asking?
Ma'am, so after body wall, there is a lining, is there, no, ma'am?
Lining is the tracheal tube.
Or in
tracheal tube have its own way of lining, where it can able to withstand them like this, attaching themselves to the body wall. And also they'll have an near the spiracle also they'll have an one lining which is able to withstand that whole that opening like that only, without closing that particular valve that is opening spiracle. It is able to open like that only. That stay for like that. How we have a nose to breathe, they'll have a spiracle to breathe. Now you understood?
Yes, ma'am.
This
Yes, ma'am.
external opening or spiracles they have shown in the diagram. So through that it enters into the body of that particular trachea to respire, and it reaches to the tracheoles. So the network of functioning will be with the spherical this lining of intima will help the tracheal tubes to withstand to the air which enter into the trachea, and there is also epithelial lining, and this is the main tracheal tube, and these tracheoles are spread into the So when we come to the mechanism, there are two distinct phases in the transport of gases. One through the tracheal system known as an air tube transport system. One through the tissues in solution in the cytoplasm known as an tissue diffusion. So we say that this particular one is able to work with the tracheoles, which are less than 1 micrometer in diameter, and they end blindly and closely contact the respiring tissues. And gaseous exchange also occurs through the tracheoles. And when we come to the tracheoblast, these are the branches of trachea and in polygonal cells consisting of plasma lemma, cytoplasm, and the nucleoplasm. Coming to the air sacs, balloon-like structures acts as oxygen reservoir and provide the buoyancy to flying. Provide buoyancy in flying in the aquatic insects and in dry terrestrial environments also. Is temporary, and air sacs an insect to conserve the water by closing its spiracles during the periods of high evaporative stress. Coming to the mechanism of respiration, there are two distinct phases of the respiration. More slides. Okay. So the respiration in aquatic insects is directly from air or from the dissolved in water. So in some aquatic insects, they carry a bubble of air whenever they dive beneath the water surface. So this bubble may be held under the elytra and it may be trapped against the body by the specialized hairs. And the bubble usually covers one or more spiracles so the insect can breathe air from the bubble with the submerged. So it is very hard process to enters into the body and do the function. So here we say that respiration in aquatic insects. In the aquatic insects obtain oxygen directly from the air. It is not there. So the oxygen dissolved in the water is also respired by these insects. That is cutaneous respiration. In many aquatic larvae, even tracheal so the tracheal gills are the main immature stages of many aquatic insects, lag a distinct communication with the exterior, the spiracle being closed or sometimes absent. Some they are non-functional, like that in some the number is varying from one species, one of the insect order to the another insect order. So in some insects, there is an extensive network of fine trachea beneath the integument, either concentrated in some regions or distributed all over as in tracheal gills of immature stages. So gills take an active, sometimes even gills take an active part in the respiratory activity, particularly in the summer months when when water is poor in oxygen. So aquatic insects face scarcity of oxygen in the summer months. So in insects, we see even the cutaneous respiration. That is chironomus larva.
Last slide, ma'am. Last page, ma'am.
Okay, this is last page. So, in the respiration, we can write the types of respiratory systems one, and in your book is given trachea divides dorsal, ventral, and visceral branches, and they are of tracheals. Highly developed insects. Dorsal longitudinal trunks have segmental branches. Same thing is given in the short form in the page number 94. Like how many spiracles are present in different insects, holopneustic, apneustic, everything, and other functions of the respiratory system, like have you seen the fireflies? They will give the path to the farmers.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Fireflies. Have you heard that name? No? With that fireflies light only, earlier the farmers used to walk in the night. Means they will emit the light.
Luminance.
So, Minguru Purugu.
Lights will be. Okay, I got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So these are able to emit the light. In your book, it is given in the 94th page. Tracheoles are involved in the emission of light by the firefly, in which adenyl luciferin is excited by oxygen in the presence of pyrophosphate, and that is the main.
Ma'am, it's a chemical, ma'am. Adenyl luciferin.
Luciferin. Chemical.
Okay.
which is produced in that particular insect. So they are able to produce the oxygen in the presence of oxygen. They are able to emit the light. Okay, so that is also given in like some species of cockroach are able to produce the sound with the expulsion of the air through the spiracles, like that. So that they are given all these things, which you go through here also. It's of same content, or otherwise I'll send this PDF. Go through it, and you can have the respiration full idea.
Ma'am, in exam, if they ask about respiratory system of insects, we have to write.
Same thing about the trachea, how they are like divided in the dorsal, ventral, and visceral branches, how they are there, and how they are having a connection with the tracheoles, how many spiracles, and how these are playing an important this is the function where the metabolic activity will be dependent on the respiration. So
in general, we have to write, not about a particular insect. In general, we have to write, ma'am.
Usually here we are studying the grasshopper.
Grasshopper, okay.
Grasshopper one, we are studying about all the systems. We'll discuss each and every about the variations in the particular system, how they will be in the insects. But in general, we are talking about the grasshopper. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
I'll go to the another one.
Excuse me, ma'am.
I'm going to start the another system. Wait 2 minutes.
It will come under the internal physiological systems, ma'am. internal systems, no ma'am. These are all like digestive, respiratory system, and system.
You have 4 systems in
Okay.
your syllabus. No. Circulation is also there. Circulation and reproductive I will take in the next class. Today we are completing the digestive, respiratory and nervous system. So now we are going to discuss about the nervous system. So you have textbooks with in front, no? The same thing I'm discussing here. That is page number 95.
Okay, ma'am.
The nervous system coordinates with the modifications of stimuli response. So input information is received from the environment and output is the form of behavioral response to the information received. So these are the things which are done by the insects on the coordination of the nervous system. And the information, what it is received is called as a stimulus. And it may be through the chemical, or it may be to the light, or it may be to the pressure, heat, magnetism, etc. So the insect nervous system can be divided into 3 parts. That is central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and the visceral nervous system. So as it is given in your book, the system with the clear diagram, how the ganglions will be there. In the thoracic, ganglions are 3, the abdominal ganglions are 6. And everywhere the outcome of the nerves, that insect brain is the center of receiver for all the stimuli. And this particular brain innervate the nerves into the antennal muscles and everywhere. So the brain is composed of 3 fused ganglions of protocerebrum, deuterocerebrum, and tritocerebrum. And it is a bilobed structure. Are you able to see everything in the textbook? Hello? Is it clear to you?
Yes.
So this particular brain, when we see there are an ocellular nerves which provide the fibers to this particular part, and the neurosecretory cells lying in the pars intercerebralis, and also there is an corpora cardiaca lying in the brain, and this number of cell bodies will be of with the two accessory lobes, and optic lobes are also have an extension into the eyes, compound eyes, and each lobe have an each lobe has with the neuropile of masses of ganglions and the lobules, and this particular deutocerebrum has an antennal lobes of where they can brings the nerves to the dorsal parts of the sensory regions with the motor nerves, and tritocerebrum is also connected to the esophageal ganglions and labrum, that is mouth part where it receives the food. So each and every part of the brain, even though it is in small insects, that are connected to the each and every region of that particular stimulus is received by the brain. And coming to the ventral nerve cord, we come across in the fusion of the 20 ganglions in the ventral nerve cord, like 3 in the brain, 3 in the subesophageal, 3 in the thoracic, and 11 in the abdominal. So these visceral system is of stomatogastric nervous system, ventral visceral nervous system, and caudal visceral system. So this can be divided into 3 parts, and the ventral visceral nervous system is in close contact with the ventral nerve cord. And the peripheral system in the particular part is connected to the receptors or the motor nerves, which are mainly receives the signals from the muscles. Coming to the neuron structure of the, which is the basic unit of the nervous system, we see the afferent fibers, internucleal, internutial, okay, internutial fiber and efferent fiber. It is a new word. No need of this diagram. Leave it. Only thing we discuss about the ventral nerve cord is visceral nervous system and the peripheral nervous system, how they will be connected to the nerves to the spiracles. So insect nervous system differs from the mammals, means they'll have an in mammals well-developed differentiation we will find, and so what is a synapse?
Synapse.
I will call it from the beginning as like that. Anyway, you can call it. Neuron structure, that is the axon.
Nerve cord is also absent, ma'am.
Huh?
Nerve cord
Nerve cord
is also absent in insects, ma'am.
Which nerve cord is absent?
In the insect.
Nerve cord, ventral nerve cord is present.
Is present, ma'am.
Present.
Okay.
Ventral nerve cord is present, and we will come across the visceral nervous system and peripheral nervous system branching. Once the neuron structure, when we see, these nerve cells are ectodermal in origin, and they have an how they can be excitable, integrate the information, conduct the impulses, receive and transmit the information. So they are very supportive and protective nutritive elements. They are motor and sensory. And this, whatever we are going to start, like it is an functional and unit of the nervous system. When we say it's an neuron in the central nervous system, monopolar nerve cell is given as a diagram. And it will have a large nucleus, nerve cell body, all the rough endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus. Everything will be of same as an humans, but not the structural and the functional variation as we have. So they will be transmitting the conducting and transmitting, receiving the stimuli is usually on the neurosecretory and neuromodulatory neurons. If we see the two parts of the nervous system, that is periphery of the ganglionic nervous system, and next of the where we are. The nerve cell comprises of two parts. So periphery, unipolar, and sometimes here we don't come across.
Bipolar also is there.
And this nerve cell body is with the rough endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, throughout the cytoplasm, lysosomes, multivascular stellar bodies, mitochondria. Neurosecretory neurons have, yes, ma'am.
Arborization.
It is a terminal arborization.
Yes,
arborization in the sense like what we will call the ending, like arborized, we say. Means that is the, okay, I'll tell the correct word for that. Simple So we see the terminal arborization, dendrites, like dendrites are the ones which are connected to the another dendrite of the another axon, like another cell. But this particular arborization word means it is an terminal end of the neuron. That particular part where it is ending, we call it as an arborization. Like that is the end part of that particular neuron. So that we'll call it as an arborization. Here one more terminal arborization and to the axon. And here also we are seeing, like there is no other word as such, like we can say. Okay. For arborization, there is no other word we can describe. Like it is an end. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So axon are the cytoplasmic projections that arise from the axon cone frequently and with the distinct soma junction of the soma and the axon. Like axon is an one evolve of the branch of the cell body. So they are also not myelinated in the insects, as we have myelinated one in our nervous system. Some are non-myelinated, but here in the insects we see that totally they are not myelinated, like we have in the vertebrates. So
nodes of hand were also not there, ma'am.
What is not there?
Nodes of Randweir.
They don't. Nodes of Randweir. So they don't.
Is there, ma'am?
No.
In insects, no.
No. And we see the myelination, like if they the important points, like what we can discuss is a axon hillock monopolar neurons. It's not required. Glial cells. This one is important. Like 98 page. This one of glial cells. They are the neurotransmitters in this particular insects, which are the ones where these are bathed in that particular fluid, and they are helpful. This glial cell body consists of an nucleus, cytoplasm, lysosomes, mitochondria. So a single glial cell may unsheath an axon either in a single fold or coil around the number of small axons. And this overlapping may be of one axon or many axons, as we see. And these glial cells are they are of higher concentration of sodium and potassium, where this influx and outflux of these ions, like sodium and potassium ions, is the one where it will helpful in the transmission of the signals. So this, what we describe here is, in insects, the glial cells are playing an important role, and they have a higher concentration of sodium, potassium, and lower chloride levels in the hemolymph. These cells are important as such. Like 5 marks answer they'll give about this glial cells of the nervous system. And coming to the sensory neurons, we'll say they are in the periphery and they'll send every stimulus to the central nervous system. And as we say that motor neurons, they are larger in size, and they will be of acting with the organ to the muscle. This particular stimulus will be carried, and except in some cases, we see the spike in the impulse. Spike in the impulse in the sense, the reach of that particular stimulus where they undergo the action potential, resting potential levels. Like that, the stimulus is carried in the body of the every nervous system neuron will be carrying the stimulus in that particular condition. Like first, it will be in the resting potential, and then they will reach to the action potential. And in the action potential, we see the potential must reach to the spike level, and then again it comes down, and again come back to the resting potential. So this one we will call in the other words also the repolarization and depolarization of the impulse. So like that, we can say the brain, the central nervous system, peripheral nervous system are playing an important role in the carrying the impulses from the body to the required organs. And when we discuss about the synapse, we say that these synapses are the ones which are acts like an neuromuscular junctions. They may carry information from an organ or the cell or the neurosecretory products, or may terminate in the basement membrane. So this is an junction of an axon and the neuron, where we see the synaptic formation of synapse. And the insect neurons, if they don't have the dendrites, these synapses at the terminal ends of the axons will be playing an important role to carry out the signal. So in the simple way, when we say that synapses are the branches of axons, or may form the synapse at the junction of the axon or the neuromuscular junction, and they carry the information from the organ to the neurosecretory product or to the basement membrane. Any way we can call it, like where it will be happening means from the cell to the where it is getting carried, there we will see this particular junction of synapse, that where this synapse formation is happening. Like in us, when we talk about the vertebrates, we say that from one neuron to another neuron, or otherwise from neuron to the muscle, like that it happens.
Ma'am, it acts like a neurotransmitter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once you read it, if you get any doubts, I can clarify. Otherwise, we say that these transmitters are the ones which will stimulate the receptor molecules. And this, wherever the neuron having a synaptic membrane will be helping out in the carrying out the function. And in short, when we say insect nervous system differs from that of mammals, like no cholinergic systems like peripheral nervous system, no distinct autonomic nervous system, like how we have the control over the hormones. No ganglia are involved in the peripheral nervous system. And insect nervous system is supplied with the trachea, providing oxygen directly to the nerve cells through the diffusion. So this variation, when we understand uh, the way it is happening in the insect, we can understand more about the comparative study of the vertebrate and this particular insect. I think you have an idea of the vertebrate nervous system. In vertebrates, we have already studied. So the thing which is varying in the insect, when we compare, then we have a total idea how that process is happening in the insect nervous system. You can see the ganglion nerve section in the page number 100. How this particular glial cells are helping out in the nervous system with the each cell is provided with what are all the things and how the cell body is with the process and how they are able to transmit the signals. So he has given here 1 or 2 lines or 3 lines you can learn from the neurolamella of the peritoneum.
Actually, in first year practicals, one nervous system.
Which one you learn? Nervous system of crab or prawn?
Prawn, ma'am.
Prawn. Okay. Same thing, like the prawn will have the whatever the appendages, it have 19 pairs of appendages. Each nerve will be innervated into that particular appendage. The same way we draw in the nervous system of the prawn. Here also, the live you have seen actually talking, how it will be in the prawn. The same way, here also we discuss about how here when we talk about the invertebrates, they don't have the brain actually. The ganglion fuse and form the brain. As such, they don't have the brain formation as we see in the vertebrates. For 2 ganglions, like have done the 2 ganglions fuse and form the brain, like we have done the dissection in the prawn. That is the junction from where the nerves are innervated into the antennal region. The nerves are innervated into the optic region, like that. So that is the diagram which we have learned gives a more idea of how the nervous system will be in the invertebrates. Means 2 ganglions fuse and form the brain. The nerves will innervated from that only. And the ganglions fuse the how the ganglions will be till the thoracic region to the abdominal region. And the main connectivity is into the muscles. They'll arise from the ganglion and how they are innervated into the muscles. Everything will be, if you see the dissection of the prawn nervous system also, you can come through the
idea of
the nervous system of the
insect.
Insect also, if it is there, you can see the video. And writing part is very easy to write, but if you understand the diagrammatic figure, how they are there in the particular thoracic ganglion and the abdominal ganglion. The only thing we will say that the brain is composed here of 3 fused ganglion. Whatever you have done in that particular prawn, we see only the 2 fused ganglion. Here, in this particular one in grasshopper, we are seeing of brain with the 3 fused ganglion. Is it okay? Everything? 3 systems?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll share the PDFs in the created group. We have created one group, no? Entomology.
Yes, ma'am.
There I will share these 2 PDFs. Nervous system, you go through this nervous system, underline the important ones and write down for nervous system. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
These are called appendages or no?
Where?
Okay, appendages are there. Ganglion stage.
In the insect, we find only the 3 pairs of legs. As such, in the prawn, we see 19 pairs of appendages. Here, the innervation will be there, but that is only the idea, how they will have it.
The number will differ, no, ma'am?
Yeah, different. Number will be different.
Terminology is same, no, ma'am? Somewhat.
Terminology is same. The ganglion part is also same. Only the innervation is different. Okay. There also we'll see.
Okay.
6 abdominal ganglion, 3 thoracic ganglion, but 2 fused ganglions. Here, 3 fused ganglions in the brain.
And a visceral, it should be called a visceral. But below the abdominal ganglion. Their caudal is there. No? Here you should write.
What I mean to say is, if you remember or if you have seen that video, the same thing is a little different in that particular insect. It will be different, but the idea, that is also an invertebrate. So this is also an invertebrate. Little more developed than this particular invertebrate.
Here also caudal fins are there, ma'am, for insect?
No.
No.
No caudal.
Only wings will be there. Okay.
Here, whatever you have understood, you underline it and write down as and how to describe the things. As such, to my knowledge, you just go through it to mainly concentrate on the digestive system and the respiratory system. Okay?
Okay.
For the examination part.
Okay.
Shall I end the class?
Okay, ma'am.
2:30, no? 1.5 hour class, 3 to 4:30.
4:30. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Up to 4:30.
I have asked about the taking an extra class. Maybe if they inform me, I'll take the extra class when I have to take and cover it. Okay. Yesterday, again, I missed due to the FDP program. So if they inform me, I'll inform you and take the class. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.